when the waitress comes and asks, is there anything I can do for you? This is not the time to have these waiters, folding your napkins, to opening your straw, putting your straw in your cup. Like, come on. When they hand you a straw, let's, go ahead and open up the
Oh,
straw on our
waiter,
own.
I'm sorry. I am a poor blind man. And if you
Yes.
don't mind, I
Yeah.
would like for you
Right.
to cut up my
It's embarrassing.
poultry,
Oh
please.
no, don't talk about that. So yes, thank you. Okay.
Cut up
Look,
my poultry, my
no,
venison.
I'm
like,
telling you,
like
that
what?
is
If you don't get on with
so
that entitlement,
freaking embarrassing.
or just a
Blind
lack
people,
of.
do not ask your waiter to cut your meat.
We face our problems every day. It seems they'll never fade away. The world may bring us down. Tonight we're gonna turn it around. So let's put it all on the table. Talk about it if you're willing and able. Life, love, and insecurities, and a laugh or two. Come and take a seat. So bring your concerns to us. Together we can discuss what's on your mind. No matter what you go through, just know we'll be here for you every time. Let's talk about it. Blind table talk. Let's talk about it. Blind table talk. We gotta be about it. Go ahead and walk the walk. So let's talk about it. Blind table talk. Let's talk about it.
What's the word, y'all? Welcome back to Blind Table Talk. I am your host, Fleeks, blind security of the community. All right, we got a good episode for y'all. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. I am your host, Saida Victoria, aka Sassy Sy, your blind butterfly. Thank you all so much for tuning in
Appreciate
again.
y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Yes,
Big salute.
yes.
We are in this thing, but you already know we got a good episode for y'all tonight. But before we jump into this thing, we got to dot our I's and cross our T's for sure. Hey,
Yeah.
Sassy, what's the PSA for?
As always, our website, www.blindtabletalk.com. Check us out there. Join the email list. Check out our upcoming events. Check out some resources. A lot of good stuff on there. And we are going to be revamping very soon. So just bookmark it so you can return and check us out whenever you so choose.
For sure, for sure. Also, do not forget about our YouTube channel. That's Blind Table Talk. We have all of our interviews on there. You have the security booth, and you also have our lovely sassy seat. You will not want to miss the sassiness that goes on there, y'all. So definitely
Yes.
like, subscribe, and share. Check us out. Show us that love, and you never know what you'll run into. For real, for real.
Yes, yes. We also have uh, our new phone number. If you did not catch it from last week,
Text us.
or
Yeah.
leave a message, you can
Leave a
leave a
message. Yeah, yeah,
message for
yeah, yeah.
any of us.
Yeah.
That phone number is 800-321-6456. So
Mhm.
use
There y'all
utilize that.
have it, that number. And also don't forget about our BTT awards. I got a few more days to get y'all nominations in before we get this ball rolling. So just make sure you send in the last minute nominations for sure. Check that
Yes,
out.
absolutely. And
Yes,
then
indeed.
also, too, we have upcoming interviews for next week. We have Trisha with Blind Girl Design. So that is our next interview that is coming up. So check that out. We had a great time sitting down with her at the table.
Talking
And
about the different designs and the tech. Oh man, I can't wait for y'all to hear that because we out here designing things, y'all, and we're making it
yes,
happen. You know what I'm talking about?
furthermore, nothing about us without us. So if you have
Y'all know where the slogan come from.
yes,
Yeah.
merchandise that is for us as blind people, you know what? Who does it better than blind people themselves? So check out that interview. I'm excited. So, but for this week, this is the week. Told you about it last week.
I got some good eating. I can't wait
Yes,
for y'all to hear this
we,
interview. We get to sit down
yes,
with the wonderful, the utmost,
yes.
top cook in our town, Miss Christine
Yes.
Ha. Like, hey, that blind goat,
Yes.
it's the truth. For
Yes.
sure. It's the truth.
So that one is coming up. And then we have our BVI discussions. And again, we're just discussing a few topics and things that are coming and popping in on our table and just opening up for discussion. So if
So
any of you have any comments, feedback, please, we welcome your comments and feedback suggestions. info@blindtabletalk.com. Drop a
yes, indeed.
message. YouTube, please leave a message on there. What is it? Comments, right? You make comments on
Like,
YouTube.
comment, subscribe, and share for sure, for sure. But y'all
Yes.
already know, pull up a seat, sit down. Let's jump into it.
Blind table talk, yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, it is time for our BVI discussions. We have some good stuff. Just want to chit chat about and hope you
Ain't it
enjoy.
though? Hey, we
Yes.
got some good discussions for y'all tonight. But before we really jump into that part though, I know Miss Sassy over here definitely got a story she wants to share with us before we really just kind of get down into it. Don't you got something you want to talk to us about?
So, I do.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Blast time. Who we about to blast on?
You know what?
Put it on the table. Let's put it on the table.
The thing is, I don't know. We can go back and listen to our show. It seems, I mean, we had eased up on Uber for a minute, right?
Uh-huh.
We had kind of, but stuff is always happening. Uber, it just, they need to
Constantly.
just, I don't know what it's going to take for them to do right. But
What happened this time?
so over the past week, I went to what was Detroit, right? And
Okay.
I did. Oh, by the way, I did the Chris Brown concert again. So,
Our
and
little
that was
concert diva, y'all. Yeah.
yes, no,
She's always at a concert for sure.
I know. And this time it was again Chris Brown. I already said, you know what? I
You
think
Chris
I'm
Brown groupie.
groupie. You know what? Stop it. That's exact. That's what I
You
told. I
ain't
said,
nothing
what
but
are
a
we
Chris
the?
Brown
I said,
groupie.
what are we the new Chris Brown groupies here, following him from state to state? But
Oh yeah,
anyway,
for
so
sure.
but anyway, so everything was fine. But when we went to the concert, we were at the hotel, right? And it was a $29 Uber ride, which, I mean, that's okay. It was like 25 minutes away, a few miles. It's not a big deal. So concert was great. We get ready to go order our Uber to go back to the hotel. Do you know that the price of the Uber was $228?
Ooh, break the glass. Like rewind.
I
What?
had
That's a
never
hellified surge.
it was crazy, and I get that it was I don't know, and I've had surges before, but two hundred
Yeah,
and
not
twenty eight
no
dollars.
200 from $29, a
I
whole
yeah, it yes.
$221.
Yeah,
Like that's
I was like, we're about to be staying here because there is no way in hell I'm about to pay $228. And so, of course, you know how you close out the app and then you open it back up and went down to 190, then it went
yeah,
back up to 201, and then
yeah.
it was just ridiculous. So, I don't know what can be done about that. I remember one time when I was at the airport and came back from the airport to my house is $15. And remember when the power was out, they had that storm and
Yeah.
so that surged to $100. So I mean that was still high too, but the I mean that one took the cake for me. So
Girl, I don't like anything that I know that goes from I'm normally paying $12 and that bad boy surges up to $28. I'm
no, I
like,
know
no,
that's even bad
I'm not
too.
even cool
Yeah,
with that. I
yeah,
can't stand that surge. And man, wow. So what
yeah.
how did y'all end up solving that?
So
Did y'all pay that 220?
no, and
Of
which we
course
didn't
not.
think
Like
of.
who the hell's gonna
Hell
pay that,
no. I
right?
would have no, I would I don't care. I just was not
Crazy,
doing it.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
so well we ended up doing, and of course we should have had, because we figured this out almost an hour later after trying to figure out what the hell we were going to do, because I wasn't doing. So we ended up getting the taxis. There's taxis that are, they're all out there waiting to take people and stuff. So we ended up paying $60, which is still a surge,
That's a
but
surge for sure. Yeah.
it's still not 220. So
Well, I'm glad
But
y'all was able to get home.
yeah, well,
That's
yeah,
just crazy that she had to pay so much to
yeah,
get
because I
home.
don't know what we were gonna do. Because
Well, get back to the hotel.
I would have been sitting there
Girl,
until that
you
surge
you
was
should have
down. Because
should
I
have
would have
hit
been.
hitchhike.
I know,
Like, look here, how you doing? What
I know.
you want to go have a nightcap? Like, let me stop.
Yeah, no, stop, stop. But you know what? Okay, but this brings me to something else though,
Okay.
because I don't know if you've seen it, but this was going around Facebook. And actually, it was Tasha from the Blind Dynasty. Shout out to Tasha.
Shout out to the
Um,
Blind Dynasty. Yeah.
she was actually on the news, and there's the news clip is going around. She's sharing it in all the groups and stuff and sharing it around Facebook.
Hmm.
But she actually was in an Uber and they dropped her off at the wrong location. And actually,
Boy, that run me hot.
he made her get out the car, and so she
Come
ended up
on
having to
now.
call. I think that was so ridiculous.
That's
And
nasty as hell.
but shout out to her, because remember, I was just talking about this last week, I believe, when I was saying we always, have these injustices that happen to us and we don't do anything
Don't
about
say
them
anything about it. Just let it,
and just let it
shake it
go.
off,
But
whatever. But
she actually reached out.
she got the
There was
news
a new,
involved.
yes,
That's
yes.
live, and kudos
Now,
for her for that. Like
kudos,
real talk, because that's
because
that's that's just ridiculous,
yeah,
disrespectful, and like the
yeah.
safetiness. Like that's
That's
what
it.
we be talking about with these
That
Uber drivers
is,
that's dealing, that's doing this type of service, and
yeah,
now you like what happened to the chivalry? What happened to the
yeah.
common courtesy, the
Yeah,
common decency?
that's true.
Like
That's true. This person, she's not safe. Like she was, I think they said she was a mile and a half away from her home. It was a gas
that's
station or something.
crazy.
But the thing is, I remember that happened to me one time, and he just kept saying that this is not the play, this is the address that was given, even though I know what address, and I'm sure we put in the right addresses.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what it goes on with Uber and their
I like
GPSs.
to tell sighted people we are the more focused
Yeah.
individuals because of we can't afford to make a lot of these mistakes. So
But
no,
why do the Uber's GPSs give a different address? That's what I'm trying to. So, how
that
about we try
baffles
to
me
work on that too with getting your systems right? Because that happens a lot. I
a
mean,
lot of
a lot.
times.
And one time it happened to me, and he was like, this is the where it comes. And he said it's an abandoned building that was closed. And I said, well, this is where it sends me. Okay, so I'm telling you, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And he asked me to get out, right, and call another Uber.
Like, come on, think about
Uh
your wife, my man. Think
yeah,
about
no,
your daughter. Think
I,
about your niece. Like,
I
do you want anybody to ask your, what I'm saying, your ladies or your children, anything like, okay,
and
yeah, get out at this abandoned
but
building.
then it
Like,
becomes an unsafe situation, because I'll tell you what I did. I told him I'm not getting out.
yeah,
I am not
no,
getting out. I am
yeah,
sitting
as you
in this
should.
car until you take me to a place that I know that I'm safe. And even then, I don't even know, but I know this is not the right address.
Yeah.
So he ended up, he was, I even told him, I said, you can call the police if you want. Because I call the police, that way I'll know I'll be, but yeah, I'm not
See
getting out.
that brings me to a story, the situation that I went through, and I wish that you think about things later, and I'm like,
After,
damn,
yeah,
I should have kind of just stayed in the car. But
yeah,
however, I was in Orlando. This is actually around what's this 2023 convention?
mm-hmm,
Yeah, or 2024. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
it was last year's convention basically
right,
in
mm-hmm,
Orlando, and so end up we had a little shindig, and I had how we like, hey, take this Uber. We got a couple of things. We're gonna send it with you. We just meet you back at the Airbnb. Cool, no problem. I'm a big strong guy.
yeah,
I can take these few cases of water and these couple of pans of food. That's cool.
mm-hmm,
I speak well for myself. Deal with the Uber driver. He tells me he's at this location. And so I asked, I'm like, hey, my guy, would you mind just going ahead and, assisting me to the door, because my hands are going to be full and I'm not going to really be able to use my cane. All you have
right,
to do, look, I'm putting out my elbow here, just sight it, guide me
yeah,
to the door, and I'm
mm-hmm,
gonna carry my things. So as he doing so, I'm sometimes you can tell the texture of the driveway that there was a step
right,
there. I'm like, okay, this is not normal. I say, yo, my man, this is not the right location. No, this is where it brought me to. No, no, sir. I'm telling you, I'm feeling it. This is not where I'm supposed to be at. Can we go back to the car?
Once again, GPS. This is where it brought me to. Yeah.
And,
This is
come to find out, like, so he goes back to the car. He's like, well, okay, yeah, we're close. He takes me to another house. It still wasn't the right house.
Oh my gosh.
Still wasn't the right house. And so I'm telling him, and he's like, you know what? This is your problem. You have to deal with it. He he left my stuff outside the car at the other house.
At the
So
wrong
I'm trying
house? He
at the
took the
wrong
stuff
house. So
out
I'm
the
trying to walk back to the car from the second house that he has navigated me to like, kind of
Oh my
get the
gosh.
bearings and whatnot. This dude pulls off. I see that the other items that I have is on the concrete, and I'm just like, yo,
So
what
he
the
left
hell?
you and all your stuff
Left
at
me
the
and
wrong.
all my stuff. And come to find out, I was literally like across the street diagonally. How all the dude really had to do was just read the numbers a little bit more. But it's just the fact that he was rude about it. The boy told me that it was my
Your
shit that I
problem.
had to deal with. He
Yeah.
said it just like that,
Yeah.
and he wasn't going to help me, and he just dipped out. And I wish that I would have took the route, of like you said, staying in the car,
Stand.
making
Yeah.
sure, or the
Right.
route of Natasha here as, hey, I should have reported this. Like, real
Said
talk.
something after. Right.
I should
Again,
have been reported that.
and that is our problem. And I always
Yeah.
say this about us, and a lot of us blind people do this. We go through these things and these situations that are not right, but we just let them go. Now, in that moment, we're pissed about it. We're fussing about it.
Right
We're doing all
on.
this
Yeah.
about it. But
Hmm.
what do we do? We do nothing.
We don't follow up. And we must remember that in order to make anything change, we must do the hard work. We must put in that footwork, no matter if they close the door right now. So what? Like,
Yeah.
write another letter. Go to another
Yeah.
city hall. Write to the support group again. Like we have to follow up with these things, and we do not, because we don't want to be bothered. We don't, the time consuming, and
Well,
we
and
have
that's
to
what it is
look
for
past these
me.
things.
And that's what it is because for me, it's like, I would say, oh, I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to send an email. I'm going to do this. But then the time comes and then I'm just like, I don't have time for that. I'm busy. I don't have the, but again, we make time for what we want to make time
We
for,
made time
right?
for it, for sure.
So why isn't this
And
high on my priority list?
And then we can have meetings where we're bashing Uber, or
Yeah.
bashing a Lyft, and we're not speaking up on these
Doing nothing
injustices
about
that
it.
we're
Right.
having. We're not having these
Mm-hmm.
meetings or lobbying about anything. And so we're
Yeah.
allowing these type of companies and corporations to, do what they want to do,
Yeah.
and act
That's
accordingly,
true.
how they feel like they want to act. And so they
Yeah.
don't feel they're doing anything wrong.
Yeah. So listeners, please, 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 if you have these injustices that happen to you by Uber, Lyft, any, report it, please.
Yeah,
Um,
let's get it out there, y'all.
Nobody's
Let's
going to do it. Nothing's going to happen if we don't bring it out there. Well, I bet here's the thing. I mean, this Uber mess it's nothing new. Many people have reported it. I get that, right? And it still
Yeah,
happens. It's still
yeah.
happening. But so what?
But we
We
still
still
have
got
to
to
keep
keep it.
reporting it.
Yeah, we
So
still
what?
do.
The only way to
So,
make the change is to put it in there.
yeah,
Change the life,
so
change the attitude, baby. Let's get it.
absolutely. So shout out to Tasha again for,
Yeah, shout out. Big shout out to
stepping
Tasha
out and,
for sure.
because that takes people out of their comfort level
Big
too. Some
salute.
people don't want to, especially, you don't want to put your
And
business
you have to,
out there,
you got
but
to sound like a victim once again. You got
yeah,
to talk about how you
yeah,
were,
it is.
were
It's a
duped,
vulnerability.
and all that good jazz. And so
Yeah.
you put in a vulnerable spot. So
Yeah.
big salute for
Yeah.
sure. And hey, let's keep rocking out here, y'all. We are blind soldiers for a reason, and the only way we can do this is by us.
Nothing about us without us.
That's how that
Absolutely.
go. That's how that go.
All right. Okay. So what else do we have on the table this evening? What we got?
So you know how we be on our social media, right? And
Mm-hmm.
all this good jazz. And so I came across a Facebook post. A visually impaired woman basically gave her perspective about dating in our society and the remarks and comments that she received about it. And
Hmm.
I just kind of wanted to touch bases on it. So basically, I'm gonna, y'all bear with me. I'm gonna read the post real quick so y'all can have a content of what's going on here. So a woman shares the idea how it's almost impossible to date now. Not because she does not believe it, but somewhere down the line, she feels that she doesn't deserve it. And she talks about the different comments that she receives when she's dating someone, cited like how they're doing you a favor. Oh, that's a pity relationship, or do you feel you would be better off dating someone that is blind? And I just wanted to kind of reach out to listeners, and if anyone needs to hear this, that you date for your preference, you date for yourself, you date because you're able to show love that you give to yourself. You date for your, what you feel like you are able to relate to, something for your long term, and that you want to experience that life with, and go through those pains and trial and tribulations and all the good and the happiness. That person does not have to be, totally blind, sighted or whatnot. I know someone who is visually impaired and dating someone who's in a wheelchair. Like your preference is what you feel comfortable with, and we should not let anyone outside of what we are dealing with and what our certain preferences change any of that, or change how we feel about dating or love, or make it feel like we don't deserve it, or it's impossible for us, or the only way we can do this is by dating amongst ourselves in the blind community. You know what I mean?
think, I don't know. I think the problem is, I mean, I get it, right? Because dating as a blind woman, as a blind person, right? It's different for us. And I understand how she can feel like, I don't know, not worthy, but like she's like nobody wants to date her type of thing because she's blind, and the pity that's given. I feel that. I get that. The things that I want to say about it is, just and us is just us getting back into the dating world, right? And because it's been a minute for me, but I will say that dating as a blind woman, there are times when we do get knocked down, right? Because the thing is, when you are dating someone that's sighted, or you're trying to date someone that's sighted, and you can be looked at as that person is taking
That
care of you,
token,
or yes, exactly.
the token. I hear that.
And so that kind of deters me. So, but and I don't want to bash on my thoughts, because I don't date sighted people.
But see,
So
that's why I say, that we can't let anyone
it's a
change.
personal preference.
Right.
It's
That's your
our
personal
preference.
preference,
And I know people that won't date blind people, that
Right.
will only date sighted. The only thing that I want to say about that for me is that, I needed to, regardless of dating, being single or not, I needed to love me first, right? So
There
that
we go.
I
That's what I said.
can accept and understand and take rejection,
Right.
because not everybody is compatible, not everybody is for us, not everybody is meant to be.
Right. Some things
And
be surface, some things kind of
so
connect to another
exactly,
level. Some
right,
things are meant
yeah,
to just to be at a friendship, and some
but
things
yeah,
can be
and
taken to a romantic, intimate
but
level.
if I did not love me the way that I do,
You wouldn't know these
that
things.
and that can knock me down, right? That
Yeah.
can sink me into
Easily.
depression.
Easily.
I mean, that
Yeah.
could really mess with me. So
For
it's
sure.
almost like, we have to, first of all, and I'm okay being single. That's the thing. You have to be okay being single. Some people are not comfortable being single, and they feel like
Yeah.
they have to have somebody, right?
Yeah.
And so
Right.
they get those, because I know people that get into relationships, even though the signs are there of unhealthiness, right, from
Right.
the jump.
Like your
But
ballet talk, only thing you talk about is the flesh. Like,
yeah,
okay,
and
like
so It is. But because I'm blind and I better take what I can get
I
because
gotta have to settle with this
no,
person.
yes, nobody else, who
And
else is gonna
it's not
want
like
me?
that.
It's not because
It's
I don't care. And if nobody does want me, then no, they're not for me.
Hey, they're not for you.
They are not
And
for
it's a
me.
good person and bad person in all of our society. We must take the time to properly vet,
Yeah.
and all that good
Yeah.
jazz. And
Right.
sometimes I feel we are a little bit hard on the sighted community. Cause I mean, even for my personal, I've had an issue with a sighted girl that I was with, and I had to, learn from that. Like all she was really trying to do in a few ways was the she cared about me, and I was frustrated about paratransit. I was frustrated about just blind people problem, kind of losing a
Yeah.
couple of things right there. And at the time, she was just like, "Hey, it's not that big of a deal. It's hey, let's try it this way." And it's like, yo, just at that time, I took that wrong. I'm like, I don't want the pity from you. I don't
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
let me run through the frustration. This is blind people problem. And I felt like she didn't relate, but then I had
Yeah.
to think about it like this. There was a time where she had a bad day at work, and I was just like, hey, it's okay. This is a bad day at work. Like, it's the same thing. No, I don't work at her job, but because she was feeling some type of way, I was concerned about her feelings. And so that's thus I chose to say something about her feelings. And I feel that's what sighted people do for us in our blind people problems, even though
Yeah.
no, they can't truly relate to it and step into it, but because they are concerned about our emotions and our feelings, they say something about it. And then we take that and have fights with them, and it's like, okay, no, I can't deal with a sighted person. So I just want to say that to my listeners and whatnot, like, yo, make sure if you're choosing not to deal with a certain side, you're dealing with it because of what you truly prefer, and you understand your value. You're not doing this because of you not understanding the dynamics, and you just thinking that they're trying to be some type of way, because it's good and
Well,
bad in
no,
every
but then we
society.
gotta do the flip side too,
Okay,
because
let's flip it.
regardless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of who you're dating, we still need to bring our own stuff to the table. We are
Yeah, we must show our
independent.
independence for
We
sure.
Because that's another problem, right?
Yeah.
Because you have people, and there are people that are those. I don't want to say, those helper, those mama hens,
Oh,
those,
those needy
yeah,
ones, those real
yeah. And
clingies that,
so, and
can you do this for
there's
me?
people that want to
Knowing you can
be
do it
with
for
somebody like
yourself.
that.
That's true. You got some
Yeah,
savior
save. That's what
complex.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yes, and so you get that. So then that puts that in that
But then
dynamic.
I feel like that's a fetish though. Like I feel like sometimes
I
us
don't know
blind
about it.
people, I feel like sometimes we do attract, I won't say weirdos, but we attract people who have like a fetish or the savior complex, like, oh, I just want to see what it's like to date a blind person, or I just want this person
Yeah,
to be
I don't know.
dependent on me, so I'm going to date someone with a, sometimes
What's funny?
that
Yeah,
happens.
but what's funny though? I always think, and this is probably wrong, and listeners don't come for me, but I always feel like sometimes, even with sighted people, like why? Sometimes I feel like, well, what you can't find a sighted girl to date? Like, why would you want to date me? Like, go date a sighted girl because I feel like we're sometimes those people. There's maybe sighted people have rejected them, and now they want to come to our side. It's sort of like the
And
hell you
see, I
want to
guess
date
that's
a
kind
side?
of,
What the hell wrong with
that's kind of
you?
what the post is getting at, like
What
the
the hell?
different comments, like,
Yeah, what the hell?
and see, as you see, listeners, we kind of get it on our own. Like, okay, we look at sighted people, like, okay, why are you coming this way? But
Yeah, for
hey,
real. Wait,
it's
what the
our
hell?
mental, our
What is wrong
personality
with
is
you
cool. They
that you?
like we're a whole vibe. I mean, we look good, but on top of that,
But
our personality is really cool. Like,
it is
I'm talking
hard
about.
for us to date though. I'm sorry because it's just so difficult to date because of that. And you've said this before about like being able to look across the room and make
Oh,
that
I missed that eye
connection.
contact,
Yes, because
man. It
and
used to
it's
be so
so
easy.
it is, and then now for me, it's almost like I don't know. I feel like the reject I was people say, "Oh, but you're blind, so what? You can still date." But I mean, people may think that, as a woman, that I attract or get a lot of hit, people
You
hit on
get hit
me.
on a lot, yeah,
Yeah, but I
because
do
you're
not.
attractive and whatnot.
I do
Yeah.
not. I don't care how attractive you are. I mean, I may be, or people may think I'm still blind. So when people are approaching me, it's not to say, hey, can I get your number? You know what I'm saying? It's hey ma'am, can I assist you? Do you need some help? Do you need, watch
And
that,
say
watch
that be
that
the
step right
problem.
there.
That be the
You know.
problem too. Like for myself as a confident male, I'm independent. So when a woman approaches and she's like, "Oh, excuse me, do you mind if I assist you?" And it's like, "Oh, you know what? Like, I really appreciate it. I really got it, but I don't mind you helping because I like the way your voice sounds. Like I have
Well,
done
you
that,
have,
but
well
then,
then, yeah, because you have to
but here's the
flirt.
kicker.
I
But
mean,
here's the kicker. Her guy was right there.
oh, and you didn't know that.
Didn't
See?
know that. Didn't know that at all. So then
Yeah.
he chuckled. He was like, "Oh, look at him. He cool. He's smooth."
Yeah.
He didn't take no
Uh-huh.
disrespect because he also realized
Well, he didn't
I
see it. Yeah.
right. But and so it's like those moments, like, damn, man, like I just miss seeing being coming into the room. I'm chilling. I look
Yeah.
across, like she look at me, she look away. I'm like, okay, she done made that eye contact. Like, let me go and walk over here, introduce myself real quick, and
Yeah.
see what's to it.
I
And
don't
so
know.
yeah,
I think there is ways. I just, I'm always feeling like instead of somebody looking to want to date me, it's more so looking to want to help the blind lady.
yeah.
I feel that a lot, you know. Even
It's
in our community, I don't,
I was
and
about to
if
say, is that flipped in the community? Is it like more wanting to date you for you, or like wanting to
I
date
don't
you for other, or just wanting to help you?
I don't know. I mean,
You know what I'm getting
and
at?
yeah, in our community, I don't know. Maybe it's just the circles that people, or maybe there's just not people that are interested in me or haven't got to know. But I mean, I haven't had people knocking down my door to try to date me. I'll tell you that. I mean, and not that I'm looking. Don't make it, because I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
She's like, before I get the whole
Yeah,
paparazzi coming, like, look,
I'm definitely okay with that. But
I'm
I'm
telling
just
y'all,
saying, people are not. I mean, dating is
I'm in
not
a whole
easy.
blind dating auction now, just to kind of put myself out there,
Oh,
just
yes, you
see what this
are.
about.
Yes.
I've also been kind of moving around on Clubhouse and kind of just you know, talking a little bit more, talking about
Yeah.
different topics to show that I do have a different type of mindset
Yeah,
and,
your
and
intelligence and yeah.
trying to put myself out there more. So a woman would be like, oh, okay, like he has some intelligence. He does this in the community.
Yeah.
He works,
Yeah.
I have to sell myself like a car salesman
Yeah, but
just to
what
come.
okay, so with that, when you're talking, right, and your other people are talking, how do you know? And that's what I'm saying. Without how do
It's
you
the
know when
vibe, it's the
people
connection.
are speaking to you because they're just generally interested in what you're saying versus, oh, I want to get to know him. Like how
Well, it's the
people would
language.
have to like say it.
That's true, and it's the language. When I could tell when the conversation is just really generic and it's just kind of we're just talking about really this topic,
Yeah.
and instead of like it's this topic, now we're sharing a testimony. Now we're relating. Now we done switch into it and went to another topic because this topic done trigger another conversation. And so from that conversation, now is
Yeah.
more
Okay.
comments come
Yeah.
out like, okay, I like this conversation. I like talking to you,
And you just keep going,
and you just
right?
keep going. Like you notice these things as it graduate. If it doesn't, for me, if it just stays in that, like the topic and we just constantly going over it, then we just stop talking. And then we go back
Yeah.
to the topic and then we stop talking. And then all of a sudden now
Yeah.
we're talking
Okay.
about like
All right.
sex. Like that really wasn't nothing, but we're lusting. Like we
Yeah.
just like to just kind of probably want to see what it is to be physical for a moment or something like that.
Well, and that's all good. I think, to each his own, and it's some things for everybody. Although I would like to, date and hang out and have it just takes so much time too in that connection, and you do still have to talk and be available. And so I
Yeah, we
think
got a lot
that
going on.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, even the phone time, even if I do, want to talk to somebody, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll call you tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, I don't call. Um, the next day comes, I'm still not calling at that
Got a
point.
business
So
meeting, got like
yeah, it's
just,
just a lot going
a lot
on.
going on.
So,
Yeah.
not that I, wouldn't in mind dating, but a lot of times it would have to, the the local dating here, unfortunately, is not.
Yeah, man, I feel you. Just, who the local man? What after you? I mean, I'm gonna say this on air, like, I'm kind of looking outside the state.
You have to. You
I
have
actually
to.
have been looking outside the state. I can't even lie
Yes.
about
I'm
that.
sorry. It's just locally, it's
Even
not
outside
here
the city, like I don't know, it might be something in in another
in the
city, but
state. Yeah, in
even
another city.
but
Yeah.
even still, like you know what,
Mhm.
let's kind of go outside the state. Let's change it up a little bit and see if we get a
Well,
different outcome.
I mean, if you can, and I know that's difficult for you too, because you're not really fond of long distance. So that's taking you out of your comfort zone. How's that working
And
for
the
you? Like, what do you
phone, I'm really not a
on
phone
the phone?
person,
Yeah, and that
you
has to
know,
be that. So
right?
how's that? Are you finding that? Do you think you'd be able to have a long distance? Because a long distance
Um,
relationship is very, that's,
I want to give it a shot. I mean, I
yeah,
have different means now to travel.
yeah.
So it's like now since I have access to do so, why not? Hey, might better.
Well, I mean, I hate to tell you,
Somebody
but you're
might
gonna
catch on
have
my
to.
radar, and I might better, fly somebody out to me or go see them quite often.
Well,
Every other
yeah.
month or so. Like I don't know.
Well, oh,
We'll
it's either
see.
that or you deal
We'll
with what
see.
we got in Houston. And I'm
Okay. Well, if I'm dealing with what I got in Houston, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, fellas. Y'all know Sassy. She gone. Now let me stop.
You stupid. You stupid. No, I think yeah, but I mean, sometimes we do have to step out of our comfort zone, and I'm fond of long distance, so I'm okay with that. I'd prefer not to be in the same city. That
Yeah.
works better for me. Just because I like my space. I want I like my alone time. And I think after being in a relationship for so many years, I really need my alone time
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah,
when
get
I
a bit
want it. You know,
relationships. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
All the
exactly.
above.
So
You don't. Yeah,
I
I hear
really
that.
want until the time comes that I don't want it
That
anymore.
he
But
don't
for
want it.
right
Right.
now, this is what I want. So, but
Dig it. Dig it.
good luck to you. Good
Appreciate
luck
it.
to
Big
me. Yeah.
salute. Hey,
But
for sure, for sure.
speaking of dating though, I mean, I want to kind of change it just a second, because I want to talk about some restaurant etiquette. Okay.
That's
Um,
part of the dating.
it's so, but here's the thing,
Yeah.
us as blind folks, right? We need to
Hmm.
do better ourselves. Okay. Because going to these restaurants and in acting like we cannot do anything for ourselves, um,
Rewind, break the glass. Let's say that
that's
again.
it's really disturbing. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, that and then if you cannot do, I mean, again, there's people that cannot, but there's also, I'm sure there is somewhere, but maybe there's some classes or some workshops
There
on
is etiquette
etiquette,
classes. I
yeah,
mean,
for
well, I don't know if there's
restaurants.
any that our BVI leaders have conducted, but
I don't
I've been
know.
to ones in college for business dining,
Okay, yeah,
just
me
for
too, yeah,
regular
so
etiquette. So
I don't know, we might
there
need
there
to,
are classes out there. Yeah, we might
well,
have to.
we might need to look into that
Yeah, we might have
and
to put
develop
something
a
on for
workshop
y'all.
or something,
Yeah,
because
because y'all need some
so
dining skills for real.
here's the thing, there's
Oh, I
just
was a poet. I didn't know
so
it.
when we are ordering our food, it just when the waitress comes and asks, is there anything I can do for you? This is not the time to have these waiters, folding your napkins, to opening your straw, putting your straw in your cup. Like, come on. When they hand you a straw, let's, go ahead and open up the
Oh,
straw on our
waiter,
own.
I'm sorry. I am a poor blind man. And if you
Yes.
don't mind, I
Yeah.
would like for you
Right.
to cut up my
It's embarrassing.
poultry,
Oh
please.
no, don't talk about that. So yes, thank you. Okay.
Cut up
Look,
my poultry, my
no,
venison.
I'm
like,
telling
like
you, that
what?
is
If you don't get on with
so
that entitlement,
freaking embarrassing.
or just a
Blind
lack
people,
of,
do not ask your waiter to cut your meat. That's
man,
embarrassing. Don't
man.
do it. We're always
They
out here,
got cooks in the back with
but
knives.
we're always out here fighting for independence, equality, all this stuff. And then
Yes,
you
indeed.
know how embarrassing it looks when you see a blind person, you got a waiter over there cutting up their meat for them. That's not
Like
Not,
people gonna look and they're gonna like,
they
oh,
already looking because you,
and they're probably
yes.
not gonna say anything, but
No, because
it's
you're
the
getting a
pity, y'all.
pass. You're
It's
getting
the
a
pity.
pass.
And
Yeah,
then now you're
exactly.
going to send this pity energy onto the next future blind. Y'all know what I say?
Yes.
Let's protect our future blind.
You're
So the
getting
next
a
blind person that's
pass.
going to come in there has to deal with the stereotype that you have just placed upon this establishment
Yeah.
by not,
No, you're just
just
looking,
showing that you are capable.
you're looking crazy. But
When
let's,
y'all could
I
just
mean,
ask in the back, like, hey, if you really can't cut up your food,
that's what I'm
I don't
saying.
like
Let's
cutting it
not,
up, y'all. Hey,
right,
I say, hey, can
exactly.
you tell the chef in the back, go ahead, slice that up a
When
few
you,
times
when
before
you
you bring
are,
it to me?
and you don't have to say it so loud and so aggressive. I'm like
You
want to
really
be,
don't. You really
but
don't.
when your waiter is, when you're taking your order, when you ask and they ask, how would you like your, medium well, what temperature? You just say, can I have it, well done, and do you mind asking if the chef can chop it up
Okay,
for me?
chop it up.
That's it.
That's
And
what
then
the
it be,
chefs are for. They're back there to prepare our meals, and the
but it
waiter
doesn't,
brings it to
right.
us.
And it doesn't bring attention to you. It doesn't bring
Yes,
attention
it does
to
not.
you as the blind person that's sitting there and everybody's, oh, poor thing. He has to have his meat cut up. That's
Oh,
it.
so
So
next time I see
that's
another blind person, I'm going to try to make sure I do that because they
no, yeah.
it seems like they
They
might need
need
that type
that.
of help.
They
So
need it.
I'm
No,
because I want to be a good person. I'm all about like my good energies and things.
no,
And so
that's
like
not.
no, no,
So, and that's
no,
that. So, and then,
no.
so the other thing too, guys, and this is like, I guess for sighted people, because they would be the ones that would notice this type of thing. So there may be times when, we got a little bit of food on our face or, something's not right. Food might be, on your cheek. I don't know how a person, but it is possible. Um, you know, can,
That's why I love
can,
my friends.
can you please tell us?
Say, my boy, you got something on the left side of your
You
cheek,
don't,
boy. You
you
look
don't,
funny. Oh, man, let me
okay,
get
but
this
it
off my
doesn't,
face, dog. Appreciate you,
but
baby.
okay, so, and on that, if you're comfortable enough like that, that's different. But in a table of 20 or 10 people, how a lot of people
Shoot,
at the
lean
table,
over.
no, the whole table does not need to know,
Right. Lean
right?
over, whisper in my ear. Hey,
It
you got
just
something on your face. Hey,
exactly.
I didn't know if you know you had something on your
Yes.
beard. Because the
Right.
food
Yeah, the
get in my
beer
beard
thing.
all the
Beer.
time.
Yes,
And I've had
exactly.
somebody lean over and I'm sitting there, whole conversation. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Look at this. And then
So,
hey,
yeah.
Joseph, you got something in your beard.
And
Oh, all right.
right.
Let's
Instead of everybody like looking at me awkwardly because
right.
they all see it,
Yeah.
right? Somebody can just reach over and politely let me know so that I can fix that so I'm not like
Bada
even
boom, bada
attracting
bing.
more attention.
Simple as that.
And then the other thing too about this, we have accidents at the table, right? You might
What?
spill your water or
Not
something.
not not as bad as sighted folks. I mean, did I say
Well,
that?
sighted
I didn't
people
say
do it
that.
all the time. You can say it. Say it again.
Donkey
Sighted,
people. Y'all
sighted
sighted people be
people
dropping cups,
spilling
breaking
stuff.
glasses. So when we spill something, don't go, oh my
No,
God. It's
it's
no, it's
no,
all right.
it's not just one person though. If you are
Yeah.
sitting at the table, with 6 people and you spill a glass of water,
Everybody don't need to move.
the whole freaking table is like, oh my God, oh my God, let me help you. Oh my God, let me help you. And no, calm down.
Unless that water is really coming to your side, because I understand sometimes those spills can be a little,
Well
splatash.
then
But however, we
no,
don't need to
but
make a big panic of it. That's what she's trying to get
no,
at.
I am. But if it's, here's the thing. If you're doing it because the water's coming to you, then you're saying, oh my God, because you don't want the water to wet you. You're not saying, oh my God, because I spilled the water. I get that.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If you want to throw a fit because the water, even though it's probably,
But
a
once
little,
again, folks, we do not have to make a big
a big
deal
scene.
about spilling liquid. It's all right.
The
Babies spill
whole,
liquid, old people spill liquid, you spill liquid. We
everybody.
all spill. It's all
Yeah.
right. It
So,
happens. No, we don't want it on our clothes, but hey,
and us
things
as
happen.
blind people, we don't have to make a big deal about it either. And that's
Nah,
another thing too. Because
nah, we
look,
don't.
this is what I'm trying to get at with all of this stuff, y'all. And you already know this, right? They are already looking at us. Okay. They are looking at us because we're walking in blind. We got our cane. We might have our dog. We might whatever. They're already looking at us, and they're already somewhat feeling sorry for us from the jump. Okay. Then here we go with this over dramatic scenes that we're making to bring additional attention to us. And honestly, that's not attention that we want to have on us. I don't want that type of attention. I mean, there's so much more that can be said about this, but
At the end of the day, listeners, let's really be mindful of how we really are looking in these restaurants. It's okay to ask for the chefs in the back to cut up our food. And let's really not make a big deal about this spill liquid and all that. Let's handle ourselves in more of a confident way because we are capable. We can do this, y'all.
Yeah. We definitely want to make sure that we set our narratives, right?
For sure.
So nothing about us without us. If we want them talking about us, because they're going to be talking about us. So let's make sure they're talking about us because it's what we're putting out there in a positive way.
Yes, indeed. And hey, enjoy this interview by Miss Christine for sure.
Blind Table Talking.
Welcome to our BVI Community Seat. Hey, Sassy, what we have for them today?
Yes, thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We have a great guest at the seat today. We have Miss Christine Ha. She is the master chef of the Blind Goat and the Stuffed Belly.
Yes,
so
indeed.
welcome, Christine. Thank you so much for joining us at the table today.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Awesome.
Christine, not only are you Miss Master Chef, that you are also a member of our BVI community. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm visually impaired and I lost my vision when I was in my 20s. So about half my life, I've been visually impaired.
Okay. Yes. And tell us a little about that journey for you. How did that affect you in your beginnings of your sight loss journey?
When I was in my 20s, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. It actually took some time because I was originally misdiagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So if any of you are familiar with MS, it could affect your vision, particularly your optic nerves. So my optic nerves did experience a lot of inflammation throughout my 20s. I had a lot of bouts of optic neuritis, and eventually, I was correctly diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition called neuromyelitis optica, or NMO. It's a rare disease, so most people I hear that do actually have NMO have been misdiagnosed previously with MS or other autoimmune conditions. So I was finally correctly diagnosed with NMO and put on the correct treatment. So fortunately, my vision has remained the same, though I did lose it gradually in my 20s because I was misdiagnosed and put on the wrong medication. So it took some time to not only get diagnosed, but to find the right treatments for my NMO and also just to adjust to life as someone who's visually impaired. So I would say my 20s were probably a tough time in my life, but I'm very independent by nature, and I've always been taught to be independent. And my parents were both Vietnamese refugees, so they, live a life of perseverance and have taught me to be determined in whatever I want to do. And I wanted to remain independent, so I just taught myself how to cook with less and less vision in my 20s, and ended up still really loving to cook in spite of the vision loss. And I kept at it until I got better and better, and then the rest is sort of history.
Yeah,
wow, that's amazing.
So no, I'm like in tears right now, and I will tell you why. Christine, I share the exact same story with you in your misdiagnosis of MS, and also I have neuromyelitis optica. I have the exact same disease. And so hearing it, there was rumors, people said it, and I was like, no, it can't be. I've never met anybody that has the same disease as me. And so when you said that, you just confirmed it. And I actually gave myself a shot of MS medication every day for a whole year from my misdiagnosis. So wow, that is crazy. So you have NMO. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's a
we
side
share a
one.
lot of similarities, and we've been
Yes.
through probably down similar paths.
Yes, so that's definitely, listeners, we will not bore you with that, but Christine, on some point, we will need to talk side notes and share some stories on this journey that we have in common as well. So, but for now, so you are, you went through that and you accepted and realized that you're still a chef. You wanted to cook, you love to cook. And so that brought you to some opportunities that opened doors for you. And we were so proud to see you on Master Chef.
Yes, indeed.
And so I would love to hear, how that came about in your, journeys with that. And gosh, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, that was actually an interesting story. So, uh, at the time, I was in my early 30s. I had lost my vision, and it's decreased the level it is now. So I say it's counting fingers in both eyes at about 12 inches. That's medically speaking. For those who don't understand medical talk, it's
Mhm.
I describe it as my vision like coming out of a really hot shower and looking into the steamy
The
mirror, or
steam,
standing in a
yeah.
very thick fog. So that's
Hmm.
kind of my vision. But at the time, I was in graduate school. My undergraduate degree was actually, I had a degree in business, and I was working in the corporate world when all of this health stuff started happening to me in my early 20s. So I eventually had to resign from that corporate job because I had to go on long-term disability leave, since I was experiencing the vision loss. And also, as you know, like if you've been through NMO, like sometimes it affects your spinal cord. So
Hmm.
I did have a very serious attack in my early 20s where I became paralyzed from the neck down. And that took a long time to recover. So I left my corporate job, went back to school years later after I'd recovered from that spinal cord inflammation, but unfortunately, my vision never fully recovered. So I went through, learning Braille, learning how to use screen readers and orientation mobility, and how to get around Houston using the metro system. As we all know, that's
Hmm.
a challenge. But I
Yes,
Yes.
decided
indeed.
to do a complete career change and go from the corporate world to a creative world. And I've always loved reading and writing, so I decided to pursue a master's in creative writing. So
Mm.
at the time, I was about to be my last semester of graduate school. I was supposed to be defending my thesis, about to graduate with my MFA, when I had the opportunity to audition for MasterChef. And what had happened was I had a blog called theblindcook.com, and it was a space for me to write about things, unedited, unapologetically, about my vision loss, what it's like to live my daily life as someone who's visually impaired, and also about food and cooking, because those were the things that I really loved. So I had, my then boyfriend, now husband, had bought me the domain name, theblindcook.com. And I really wanted a space to write with out any inhibitions. Where,
Hmm.
in grad school, you're like constantly workshopping stories and you're poring over every sentence, every paragraph. But I wanted a space where I could just almost free write. And so I had this blog, theblindcook.com, but I actually don't like attention, and so I remained very anonymous on my blog. Like I didn't have any photos of myself. I didn't put my real name on the blog. And the casting department of MasterChef found my blog, I guess when
Mm.
they were looking to cast for season 3, and they were wondering if I was a real person that was visually impaired that can
Yeah.
cook. So they reached out to me through my blog and said, "Hey, are you an actual blind cook? And do you want to perhaps audition for season 3 of MasterChef?"
Wow.
So I
That is
decided to
great.
go, really not expecting to be the best cook or to win, of course, but I went because as a writer, or as an artist, I believe in trying to experience as much of life as possible in order to feed your creativity. So I thought
Right.
I would just go and come home with a short story or a humor essay about Gordon Ramsay to write in class, not thinking that
Right.
I would get far at all. But ended up passing several rounds of auditions before being admitted to going on television and flying to Los Angeles to film the show. But, I packed the smallest suitcase, not thinking I would last very long,
Right. Thinking you're
but
coming home
ended up
soon.
winning that season. So that's really how the roundabout story of
Wow.
how I had the opportunity and ended up winning the season of Secret Master
Incredible.
Chef.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Did you feel like the odd man out there though? I mean, with your, visual impairment, did people think that, you weren't going to make it? I mean, how did you feel with that?
Oh, 100%. A lot of the other
Yeah.
contestants thought I was just a gimmick, and
Mm-hmm.
that the producers just brought me on the show for ratings and that I really
Right.
wasn't someone that knew how to cook.
Mm-hmm.
Or they thought maybe I was an actor or just faking my disability.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm.
think a lot of them, when they saw me cook in the first auditions in the top 100, they did all gather around my station to see how it would operate. But a lot of them before that were asking me, oh, how are you going to use a knife? Or your husband's
Mm-hmm.
here to guide you, but is he going to be the one really making your recipe and you're just going to stand next to him and dictate what you want him to do? And I said, no, I'm going to do the cooking
Yeah.
myself. Like I know how to do it. It's just, it takes practice and time to learn how to cook
Right.
again, but you can totally do it without vision impairment. But,
For
I
sure.
know a lot of them didn't have much experience with other blind folks. So
Yeah.
of
The
course they were
awareness. Yeah.
ignorant of what we're
Mm-hmm.
capable of doing. But I think once they started seeing how I cooked, like I wouldn't ever say I was the best, or I was really just there to learn and do my
Mm-hmm.
best. But then I think they started realizing like I was the real thing.
So you found yourself having to really like advocate and kind of educate as well as kind of going through the journey
Yes.
of that is, ah,
Yeah,
and that's
that's what I was thinking. You educated for
yeah,
sure with that one. Yes, that was
for sure.
yeah. And even if with that, I think our listeners, I mean, so many in this, even there's blind people themselves that don't think they can cook, right?
Right.
Still, and unfortunately to this day, even though we are capable, but for society as in a large, it's we are able to do those everyday things. Cooking is something, but if you were a bad cook before and don't care to cook, you might not be the best blind cook because you just it's not something you enjoy. But it is definitely possible for those that, have that hobby and enjoy cooking. Blind or not, it can be done. And
Yes,
Yeah,
it
Christine,
I,
is.
I
you
agree
are proof of
completely.
that. Yes, yes, yes. And then, so then after that, I know you probably were taken by a whirlwind after winning that. How did your life change after that?
Oh, my life was totally turned upside down. I had told y'all that I not a person that likes to be the center of attention.
Attention, yes,
So it
yes.
was definitely something I had to get used to. It was strange to be recognized in public or at the grocery store or at the
Mm,
airport. So that
mm-hmm.
was something new that I had to get used to. And I didn't do the show to become famous or to, I really, part of it was to prove something to myself, to try and also to
Mm-hmm.
just learn more about cooking as much as I could. And then, of course, like I mentioned, I just wanted a great story or some creative content
Right.
out of it for graduate school. But uh, I didn't really go for fame or to not expecting to win by all means. And my life, of course, completely changed once people started recognizing me. I did receive a lot of opportunities to speak about disabilities and vision impairment. And then I started realizing that the real blessing in all of this is not necessarily winning, but being given the platform now to
Mm,
advocate for people who are underserved in our society, whether that means women of color, Asian Americans,
mm-hmm.
people with disabilities or vision impairment. And I've realized that now that's really my true calling and my gift in this life is, I was able to win this show, but really it's to do this other work that is much needed. So that's probably how my life's really changed. It's just now I've had many years to get used to kind of being in the public eye.
Right. Yes. But, and well deserved. I think everything happens for a reason, right? So, you went there not expecting, you just were looking for a good, some content, right? And then,
Right.
which is probably why you ended up winning it all because, your expectations were one thing, but, that was not the plan for you. So,
Nope, and end up being a bigger inspiration, and
yes,
and kind of like the forefront of showing like this is
absolutely.
capable, and no limitation. Like
Yes.
blindness does not limit us from having a successful life, or enjoying these experiences, or just proving that we could do something outside of our box. So it's a beautiful
And
thing, and a big salute to you.
yes, big side note, little note. So Christina, are you a little woman? Because someone said that you were, a tiny, little thing with
I'm 5'3", so yeah,
okay,
I'm
so
petite.
yes, but so yeah, so that's even cuter because you just sound so cute, but you have a big punch, So I think that is great because even though there's a lot in the power of your voice and your advocacy, and I've heard so many different things about you and the position that you have been put in. I'm glad it was given to you, and I am proud to say that you represent our BVI community. So thank you so much for what you do.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And with that, what about let's talk food now. Let's talk some restaurants. So
Sure.
the Blind Goats.
Yeah, so it took me 7 years after winning the show to actually open my first concept. And the reason was, coming off of the show, everyone was expecting it. Everyone was like, when are you going to open your first restaurant? Or when can we as the public taste your food? But I know that just because I'm a great home cook or just because I won this show for amateur home cooks doesn't mean I know how to run a restaurant, because it
Right.
is a
Yeah,
totally different animal when you're
yes.
running a business in a commercial
Mhm.
kitchen. Then you
Yeah.
have to think about sourcing, about costing out food, how to price your dishes. It's a lot about branding and marketing, which fortunately I have a background in due to my business degree.
Mhm.
But how to run a kitchen. It's not necessarily something that you just come off of a show like MasterChef and know how to do, because
Mhm.
I've had no formal culinary training. I'd never worked in a professional kitchen before. So I
Right.
wanted to do other things after MasterChef just to get more experience. So I did different pop-up restaurants where I would cook in someone else's kitchen, just for a one-day event.
Oh,
I
nice.
continued doing television. I hosted a Canadian cooking show called Four Senses, which was geared towards visually impaired home cooks. I
Nice.
ended up judging MasterChef Vietnam season 3. So, and then I wrote my first cookbook, Recipes from My Home Kitchen. So I did a lot of things in food, but I didn't want to open a restaurant until the time felt right. And I felt like I had more experience. So it took 7 years after winning before I actually opened the first iteration of the Blind Goat, which was a 400 square foot station inside a food hall in downtown. And I
Hmm.
thought that was the opportunity to take at the time, because it was a small footprint. The financial investment wasn't huge. I figured, let's open this small thing, see what happens, and learn how to run a small little food shop. And if it doesn't work out, then it wasn't too much of a financial burden to have
Well,
to close it.
right.
And
Mhm.
but we ended up being very popular. Like, we were running out of food, which you would think is a great thing, which it's a nice problem to have, but it disgruntles a lot of people, because we had
Yes.
people
Yeah.
driving in from San Antonio, and then we would be out of half of our menu, and they waited in line, and of course I felt
Ugh,
bad.
yeah.
So
Right.
um eventually, we realized that we kind of outgrew that space. So we opened the second iteration of the Blind Goat as a full-scale restaurant in Spring Branch. I want to say about 2 years ago. So we opened in 2023 in Spring Branch, and now we went from being a 400 square foot station to a 3,300 square foot restaurant with a
Wow.
full bar, a dining room, a kitchen in the back that can do catering orders, and run a full dinner service. So we've been able to expand our menu and put cocktails and mocktails and all sorts of things on our menu. So I usually describe the Blind Goat as a modern Vietnamese eatery. So in Houston, we have tons of great traditional Vietnamese food. That's the food that's being cooked by my parents and my grandparents' generation. And I didn't want to compete with that because you can get some fantastic noodle soup bowls or Vietnamese sandwiches in Houston for, for very little cost. And for me, it's like, I'm a second generation Vietnamese American. My parents, yes, were Vietnamese immigrants, but I was born in Southern California, grew up in Texas. And I wanted to really tell what that story meant on a plate. And so I grew up, obviously eating a lot of authentic and traditional Vietnamese food, but I also grew up eating pizza or fried chicken or Texas barbecue or Cajun food. So I wanted to integrate all of my story and my background into the menu at the Blind Goat. And I wanted to make it a fun, whimsical place where it's just a good time for everyone that comes in through the door. Whether you're just like walking in from, after work with a couple of coworkers for happy hour, or you're celebrating like a big anniversary or a birthday or whatnot. Like, I wanted the Blind Goat to be a neighborhood spot that welcomes everybody. So that's what I describe the Blind Goat as. And then a couple years ago, we also decided to open a totally different concept. So the Blind Goat is like a full-scale concept, meaning you have a front of house staff, a back of house staff, a bar staff. It's a lot of people. The menu's constantly changing because it's a chef-driven concept. So people are expecting new dishes on the menu all the time. So there's always things to be working on at the Blind Goat. And my husband and I wanted to try our hand at something completely different. We wanted a drive-through concept that focused on primarily smash burgers and good old American sandwiches with a fun twist. So my husband and I, we love sandwiches. We consider it one of our comfort foods. And I've done so much Vietnamese food up to this point that I'm like, well, I want to, acknowledge my, American childhood side. So growing up, of course, we, as an American child growing up here in the States, like, I ate a lot of like tuna salad sandwiches or burgers or fried chicken sandwiches. And so I wanted to just kind of pay homage to that side of my upbringing as well. So then we opened Stuffed Belly. It's actually a drive-through concept located in the same parking lot as the Blind Goat. So you can have the whole Christine Haw experience by eating at one place and then walking to the other.
Nice.
But yeah,
take that home for later, right?
Right.
Exactly. A lot of people do that. They will come, take leftovers from one place and eat at the other. But yeah, Stuffed Belly has a much smaller menu, but our number one sellers are Belly Burger, which is like a 2 all beef patty smash burger with American cheese, pickles, caramelized onions on a Martin's potato roll. So it's very simple. To me, I didn't want the sandwiches to be like over the top, like with a million ingredients, but just kind of what makes a sandwich good. And then, some of them just have fun twists, like our fried chicken sandwich. Instead of doing like a classic Nashville hot chicken sandwich, we do a Szechuan hot chicken sandwich. So there's kind of the Asian influence in that sandwich where we use Szechuan peppers and oil to make like a hot sauce that goes on that fried chicken sandwich, or we just do those different kinds of fun things. But it's really a nod to our childhood and what kinds of sandwiches I loved growing up eating.
Yeah, stuff we threw together.
That's amazing that you were able to bring your childhood to the plate and just let everybody experience that. Like that's
Yeah. I know it must be challenging though, just to get the respect that you deserve. And I'm sure you've got it now, but I know people probably, did not have that belief that you can do something in something like this and running a whole business. And I'm sure you have a team, but it's still, you're the leader, right? And so you have to be the one that gets the feedback and the lashes and oh, she's not going to be able to do it. So what do you say to all of those that felt that you could not do it?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I've had naysayers since I was on MasterChef to this day.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
still wonder if I'm faking my vision impairment.
Wow.
Yes,
I
yes.
hear from my teams at the restaurant that people come in all the time and ask if I'm really blind
Mm-hmm.
or whatnot. So it's it was tough, but I would say over the years, I think with just maturity and more life experience, I've learned to weed out the noise and the naysayers.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, haters always gonna hate. So
Yep.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
Yes,
always just gotta
indeed.
absolutely.
focus on but that's not to say like you ignore all criticism. There's definitely
Right.
constructive criticism, which I appreciate. But I don't think like people who blast you publicly for like a one-off experience, like I don't really
Mm-hmm.
necessarily think that's like the most productive way. So
Right.
you just learn to kind of weed out that noise and the people who are just hiding behind a computer screen to write mess about you online, and
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
just learn to ignore that and then focus on the people that do matter, or your supporters, or people who give you constructive feedback in a positive way to just help you improve yourself or your businesses. So for me, I kind of have learned to, over the years, discern between the good criticism and the helpful criticism versus just the haters.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for, coming and sitting with us. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. But
Yes, truly appreciate it.
before that, though, we need to tell our listeners, especially, if you ever come to Houston, but those that are here in Houston,
Where the fella
where,
delis.
yes, where do we find you?
Yeah, so both of my restaurants, like I said, are located in Spring Branch. The Blind Goat and Stuffed Belly, they're both in the same parking lot. So if you're visually impaired, you can just take an Uber or the bus to one of them and then walk to the other. We're
Mm-hmm.
located in Spring Branch. The Blind Goat's at 8145 Long Point Road, and then Stuffed Belly is at 8133 Long Point Road. And then both of them have social media, so you can see what we're up to. Websites, The Blind Goat is theblindgoat.com. They're on Instagram at the blind goat HTX, and then Stuffed Belly is stuffedbelly.co is the website, and the Instagram handle for Stuffed Belly is stuffedbelly.co. So and then of course I'm the Blind Cook, and you can find me also on social media at the Blind Cook.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well,
Awesome. Really appreciate you, Christina, for sure, for sure. Big salute for your journey and everything that you do for our community. And keep making them good plates.
I will.
yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Christine.
Blind table talking.
Okay, okay, listeners. So again,
If
that
you are
was
in
a-
Houston, you
yes.
must try the Blind Goat. I'm telling you from experience, you have to
Yes.
try it out. It's a wonderful place.
It
As you
is.
see the owner, she's amazing and awesome. Like, yo, y'all must try this out, right? Real talk.
Yeah. So, listeners, anything that we have discussed tonight and of our interviews, if you want to chime in, give your thoughts, your opinions, anything, suggestions for us, tips for us. We had a whole little discussion about our dating and all of that. Any tips on that? Please email us info@blindtabletalk.com or call us 800-321-6456. Leave us a message and we will definitely, be able to hear your thoughts and comments.
Be blessed.
Blind table talking.